Hello, hello! We are officially halfway done with 2021, and that is absolutely insane to me. It's also been a while since I've posted here because I've been quite busy with streaming on Twitch and getting ready to move to a new apartment. Because of all the craziness, I decided that I wanted to go with a more simple design this month and to also do more minimal spreads. This month, I decided to choose a sunflower and cassette tape theme. I was originally just going to do a sunflower theme, but I felt like many people have done that in the past. The first thing that I thought of was the song Sunflower by Post Malone and Sway Lee from the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse movie, and it reminded me of a more chill and retro style, which led me to include cassette tapes. The finishing touch of this theme is definitely the July Mix playlist that I created. You can find links to the playlist in the description down below. So you already saw, but I started by drawing the sunflowers. I drew a circle with a smaller circle inside as guidelines for the sunflower, and then began to draw dots in the inner circle for the seeds with a brown marker. Next, I outlined the petals of the sunflower with the brown fineliner, making each petal relatively thin and pointed at the tips. I moved on to draw the outline of the cassette tape, but will go back and color in the sunflowers later. For the cassette tape, I used my ruler to make sure the edges were straight and used my circle maker to draw the inside circles on the cassette. As this is the cover for the month, I wrote July Mix Volume 1 on the cassette and finished outlining the tape. I'm going to be making the cassette tape pink, blue, white, and gray to contrast against the yellow, brown, and green from the sunflowers. When coloring in the sunflowers, I started with the bright yellow and then went in with a darker yellow along the tips of each petal to add dimension. Then I drew a tiny line in the center of each petal to add detail and depth to the petals. I decided to make the tiny screws on the cassette gold, so I used my gold Uniball Signo. I really like these pens because of how pigmented they are, but I made a bit of a mistake and smudged the gold because the pens take a decent amount of time to dry. After that, I used my green marker to add stems and leaves to the sunflowers, but I felt like some of the stems were a little too long. Otherwise, I really love how the cover turned out. The finishing touch to this theme, as I mentioned previously, is the July playlist, so in the bottom right corner of each of the pages of this spread, I will be writing each of the song titles from my July mix. I obviously had to start my playlist off with Sunflower by Post Malone and Sway Lee, so I decided that the mix would go along with the chill summer feel of this song. Moving on to the quote page, I chose to write the song lyrics that read, "You're the sunflower" from the song Sunflower, and I thought choosing these lyrics made the quote and cover page cohesive. I decided to use a comic book-like font by writing in an uppercase font and putting the words in these boxes with a drop shadow. I saw this style used in the music video for some of the song lyrics. Even though I had already outlined the lettering for the word sunflower, I decided to add yellow to all of the downstrokes by blending the darker and lighter yellow. When coloring in the sunflowers and cassette, I used the same method as I did on the cover, and it was really relaxing to just have this repetitive task of coloring like on the previous pages. I also drew some leaves around the sunflowers and then took a dark gray marker to make a border around this page. I made some loops so that it would look like a tape from the cassette, and I wasn't being very precise on where I drew the loops. Overall, I feel like this is a relatively simple quote page compared to some of the ones that I've done in the past, and I think it expresses my desire for a relaxed month in July. I mentioned that I was moving to a new apartment soon, but there was a lot of craziness surrounding that, so it will be nice to have something more simple and constant in my life. To finish off the spread, I added some gold details like I often do in my letterings to the letters in the word sunflower. Moving on to the monthly spread, I started off by writing July in the same script font I used on the cover as the mixtape title on the cassette, and then drew a doodle next to the title of a cassette tape with some sunflowers around it. I also added a few sunflower drawings to the box where I'll write down my goals for July. I used the uppercase comic book font with the drop shadow boxes for each of the headers and drew out the borders for each of the days of the week. I decided to freehand the lines for all of the boxes to have that more free-flowing and relaxed feel that I'm going for during the month of July. I'm also realizing it now, but a lot of my themes this past year have used the combination of pink and blue in them, and it reminds me a lot of 17's fandom colors. I also just think that pink and blue are a really pretty color combination. I decided to write the dates down in the bottom right hand corner of each of the boxes, which I surprisingly liked more than I thought I would because of how minimal it is. Continuing on with my July mix, I am writing down the second song on the playlist, which is Free Spirit by Khalid. Just like the song title implies, the song has a very carefree sound to it, which is perfect for the summer playlist style that I'm going for this month and for the theme of these spreads. I finally finished coloring all of the parts of this page, and I feel like it was nice to outline the spread first and then to color later because it made the coloring process really relaxing. I also didn't have to continue switching between outlining and coloring, so I could focus more on the coloring. It also made this theme seem like a coloring book, so it was really fun. I definitely think that finding good fine liners that don't bleed when going over them with another marker is one of the most important things to me when I look for fine liners. Also, I think the repetition of drawing the cassettes, sunflowers, and leaves made me better at drawing them by the end. I'm going to be honest about the next spread, which is the habit tracker. I don't really use this spread much because I often don't set aside time at the end of the day to go through this page and mark down which habits I do, and then a couple of days later I find it too hard to go through and figure out which habits I did earlier in the week or not. I do like that this page reminds me of the things that I want to do and the habits I would like to have in my life, because even if I'm not marking it down, I subconsciously will think about doing them. I'm sticking with the same 6 habits that I had during the first half of the year, but maybe I should start recording the habit of filling out this habit page every night. Regardless, I kept this spread pretty simple by writing out the header for the page in the drop shadow boxes and drawing each of the boxes for the habits. I wasn't super careful when drawing a base outline, so you'll see that actually a couple of times through this whole setup I had to pull out my handy whiteout and to cover the mistakes. To incorporate my theme into this page, I just added some sunflowers behind the header and behind some of the boxes for the habits at the bottom of the page. Maybe after I move, I can form some new habits and use my bullet journal more. Moving on to the mood tracker for this month, I started by writing out the third track on the playlist in the bottom right hand corner, which is Life Goes On by BTS. I definitely couldn't make a playlist without including at least one BTS song on it. Originally, I was planning to add Butter to the playlist because I felt like that song is going to be the song of the summer, but since the overall mood of the summer playlist was more chill and relaxed, I decided to choose one of the slower BTS songs and went with Life Goes On. It carries a bit of that nostalgic feel that I get when I listen to Sunflower or Free Spirit, so I feel like the song matched well in this mix. When making the cassette tape for this spread, I actually used a credit card to trace the outline of the cassette, so I would definitely recommend using that as a stencil if you don't want to try and measure out anything. Plus, it makes it really easy to get a neat line for the cassette tape. After that, I traced the outline of the film from the cassette tape and sectioned it off for every day for this month. The film was actually pretty fun to draw because I didn't have to really follow any certain pattern to get the right shape for the film. Also, I'm going to use different shades of the color gray depending on my mood, where the dark gray means a good day and the light gray means a not so great day. Finally, I added a couple of sunflowers to some of the corners of the spread, as well as adding some with stems and some with leaves. When talking about the most minimal and simple spread of this month, it would definitely have to be the 2 lines a day spread. Similar to the habit tracker, I used the same style for the header and added the sunflower doodles behind the header. Then I added the next song on the playlist to the spread, which is called Tenki by Adu. This is a Japanese song that was introduced to me recently. In comparison to the previous songs that I chose for this playlist, this song is even slower. I chose to add it because I really like the beat and how chill it is, especially when the beat drops around the chorus. It's one of those songs that makes you just want to sway back and forth with the beat and continues with the nostalgia from the previous songs on the playlist. For this spread, you can see that I numbered the dates down the left-hand side of the pages and then highlighted the 2 lines that correspond to all of the odd-numbered dates. After finishing this page, I realized how simple some spreads can be, and it really helped me to finish the spreads for this month. I had originally experienced a creative block thinking about how I could make more spreads that can stand out, but sometimes it's better to take a step back and to go with a simple theme. For me, flowers and plants are always one of the themes that I find myself going back to when I can't decide what I want to do in my journal. Since the month of July is a little crazy for me, and I mentioned wanting something a little more relaxed and simple than usual, I decided that for this month I would switch from my normal weeklies and do 2 weeks for each of my weekly spreads. When planning out this page, I sectioned the page off into 8 sections and then decided to use the top left and bottom right corners for the areas of my doodles. The next song that I chose is Head in the Clouds by Joji from 88 Rising. I remember the first time listening to this song and immediately loving the lyrics and relaxed beat. It was also a song that fit perfectly with the mixtape, so I knew that I wanted to include it. Like the previous spread, this spread was equally simple, where I only really had to draw the borders for each of the days of the week and color the sunflowers and cassette tape. I decided to write the days of the week vertically for each of the boxes, so I made the outline from the left side of the boxes wider. In comparison to some of the bigger drawings of the cassette tape, I decided to freehand the outline for the one on this page. Even though the lines weren't as straight and neat as some of the previous pages, I think it added a more personal touch to this page. I think one of the best parts about freehanding is that it takes a lot less time too, since I don't have to line up a ruler and try to be precise when drawing the lines. I actually already started using this weekly, and I think that each day has a good amount of space to write down my tasks for the day, and I think that it is really nice to be able to see 2 weeks at a time rather than just 1 week. I definitely think that I'm going to be doing more 2-week journal spreads in the future. Finally, we've gotten to the last spread for July. I decided that I won't be posting a separate July weeklies video this month because it's only one spread. So instead, I'm going to be using the time to relax as I figure out what to do with moving. I also want to get back to posting lifestyle videos on my channel by incorporating vlogs to show you all more of my day-to-day life. More recently, I also started streaming on Twitch, and I'm slowly learning how to balance Twitch streaming and making YouTube videos. I found that streaming has been really rewarding because I love that I'm able to interact with my viewers live rather than going through the comments more delayed. As I'm sure you've noticed, I'm really bad at responding to comments, but I do read all of them and love seeing what you all have to say and catching up with what you all are doing. Anyway, for this weekly spread, I started by drawing a ton of doodles of sunflowers and cassettes in the center of the page. I wanted to have a design for the center of the page like it was a patterned piece of paper that I layered in my journal, but I accidentally went outside of the line for the section of where I wanted the drawings to go. I learned my lesson and drew the borders of the sections before finishing the outlines of the sunflowers. In the future, I will definitely try to section off my page first before drawing the doodles if I do a page design like this. When I was drawing all of these doodles, I thought about how this would be a super cute sticker sheet if I were to make the cassettes and sunflowers into stickers, so I'll put that on a list for future ideas. But if I made little cassette tape and sunflower stickers, then it would make this type of spread incredibly easy because I could just cut up the stickers and position them around this section. The last song that I chose on this playlist is Our Dawn is Hotter Than Day by 17. It also wouldn't be one of my playlists if I didn't include at least one 17 song, right? This is actually probably one of my all-time favorite 17 songs because I love the summer vibes of the music and also the summer vibes from their choreography video of this song. Also, this song is super upbeat and makes me feel really happy, so I thought it'd be a good song to close out this playlist. As I mentioned earlier, you can find the links to this playlist in the description down below. Regardless, after coloring everything and adding the details of the leaves and the gold to the cassettes, I thought that this was a super cute weekly spread design. I can definitely see myself doing something similar to this again in the future. Now let's get to the final flip through of my July bullet journal setup. I really love how this sunflower and cassette tape theme turned out combined with the colors of the spread. All of these colors are very bright, but they mix well together for this theme and definitely makes me think of summer. If you decide to listen to this mixtape that I made, let me know what you think. Otherwise, let me know in the comments what songs are on your playlist for this summer. Until then, stay safe and healthy, enjoy the sunshine, and I hope to see you all very soon at one of my live streams or in my next video. Bye!